Thank you for subscribing to our channel. Today is Tuesday, January 19, 2021. CNN report. Jailed for life over plot to behead police officer, Britain's youngest convicted terrorist is now suitable for release. Britain's youngest convicted terrorist, who was sentenced to life in prison for masterminding a plot to behead an Australian police officer in broad daylight in 2015, can now be set free, a parole board ruled on Monday. The 20-year-old man, from Blackburn, Lancashire, was aged 14 when he planned the strike in Melbourne for Anzac Day, a national holiday honouring Australia's war dead, according to CNN affiliates 7 News and 9 News.
CNN report. Walmart CEO blames fiction of fraudulent election for dividing Americans. Walmart CEO Doug McMillon lamented Tuesday that the baseless claims of a stolen election pushed by President Donald Trump and his allies have further inflamed America at a time of peril. We all find ourselves in the midst of concurrent health, economic and racial equity crises, as well as facing the reality of an electorate divided in large part to the fiction of a fraudulent election, McMillon said Tuesday during an event hosted by the Business Roundtable.
CNN report. Aldi, Trader Joes and others will pay workers to get a vaccine. A growing number of large U.S. chains are offering their workers incentives to get COVID-19 vaccines. Grocery chain Aldi said Tuesday that it will provide its hourly workers with 2 hours of pay for each vaccine dose they receive, giving workers up to 4 hours total of paid time off. Aldi also said it will cover costs associated with vaccine administration for employees who want to get vaccinated.
BBC report. Starbucks customer compensated over slanty eyes drawing on cup. Adderson Liffey Unlimited, trading as Starbucks Talent, has to pay Suchavati Foley €12,000 £10,680. The incident happened on 12 January 2020 when Ms. Foley went into the outlet to buy a matcha tea latte. The Workplace Relations Commission found Ms. Foley was racially harassed under the Equal Status Act. Ms. Foley attempted to give a shortened version of her name at the counter as she made her order so it could be written on the cup.
BBC report. Vedanta mine settles Zambian villagers' pollution claim. The claimants live by the huge Nchanga copper mine, owned by Konkola Copper Mines (KCM), a Vedanta subsidiary. In 2015, they alleged that toxic discharge from Nchanga had poisoned water sources and destroyed farmland. In a landmark ruling 4 years later, the UK Supreme Court said the case could be fought in the UK courts. A joint statement from UK-based law firm Lee Day, which is representing the claimants, and Vedanta said the mining companies did not admit liability but had settled all claims for the benefit of the local community.
Fox report. Squad member Rashida Talib says, Israel is a racist state. Rep. Rashida Talib, D-Mish, lambasted Israel as a racist state during an interview on Democracy Now! On Tuesday while discussing the low vaccination rate of Palestinians. The host, Amy Goodman, mentioned that Israel is one of the most vaccinated countries in the world, at 20%, while Palestinians in Gaza and the West Bank, where Talib has family members, have supposedly not been provided vaccines.
Fox report. Maryland man who wanted to be lone wolf killer tracked by parole monitoring device to Capitol, FBI says. A Maryland man out on probation after a burglary conviction was tracked to the inside of the U.S. Capitol on the day of the Jan. 6 riot by his GPS monitor, after he received permission from parole supervisors to travel to Washington, D.C., to purportedly hand out Bibles with a religious group, the FBI said. Brian Ben-Kur, from Silver Springs, MD, contacted his parole officer 2 days after a mob stormed the nation's capital in a violent attack that left 5 people dead to let him know that he was worried that the FBI was watching him and that photos of himself would surface at the Capitol after the insurrection.
CNN report. Australian Open turmoil raises questions for Tokyo Games. The quarantine controversy over tennis Australian Open has raised questions about whether large-scale international sporting events can take place in the middle of a pandemic and could offer a preview of the difficulties facing this summer's Tokyo Olympics. Players arriving in the Australian state of Victoria have been placed into a 14-day quarantine ahead of their Grand Slam matches. Most have been allotted 5 hours each day to go out and train in strict biosecure bubbles, but 72 players have been unable to leave their hotel rooms and cannot practice, under strict quarantine rules after passengers on their flights tested positive for COVID-19.
Deutsche Welle report. Trump administration declares China's treatment of Uyghurs genocide. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo on Tuesday declared that China has committed genocide and crimes against humanity against Uyghur Muslims and members of other ethnic and religious minority groups in western Xinjiang province. The Trump administration's announcement came just 24 hours before President-elect Joe Biden takes office. In the statement, Pompeo said crimes include the arbitrary imprisonment or other severe liberty of more than 1 million civilians, forced sterilization, torture of a large number of those arbitrarily detained, forced labor, and the imposition of draconian restrictions on freedom of religion or belief, freedom of expression, and freedom of movement.
Deutsche Welle report. Navalny team releases investigation into Putin's palace. Alexei Navalny's team on Tuesday released a 2-hour video featuring details of a luxurious property on Russia's southern Black Sea coast purportedly belonging to Russian President Vladimir Putin. The YouTube feature, accompanied by a blog post from the jailed dissident, claims Putin's property cost $1.35 billion €1.1 billion and was paid for, with the largest bribe in history. The video, released less than 2 days after Navalny was arrested at Moscow's Sheremetyevo airport and subsequently jailed.
Al Jazeera report. Biden Intel chief nominee vows to release Khashoggi murder report. President-elect Joe Biden's nominee to be the next director of national intelligence has said she intends to release an unclassified report to the United States Congress on the assassination of Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi. During a Senate confirmation hearing on Tuesday, Senator Ron Wyden told Avril Haines that she had an opportunity to immediately turn the page on the excessive secrecy and lawlessness of the outgoing administration.
Al Jazeera report. Top U.S. Republican says Trump provoked Capitol mob. Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell said the crowd of Trump supporters who attacked the U.S. Congress on January 6 were violent criminals, who were fed lies, and provoked by President Donald Trump. Speaking to the U.S. Senate on Tuesday, McConnell's remarks are his strongest condemnation of President Trump's role in the January 6 attack by Trump's supporters on the U.S. Congress. The last time the Senate convened we had just reclaimed the Capitol from violent criminals who tried to stop Congress from doing our duty, said McConnell, the number one Republican in the Senate.
Deutsche Welle report. Record German debt due to pandemic, but less than expected. Germany borrowed €130.5 billion $157.5 billion in 2020 as it loosened budget rules to help finance pandemic-related rescue and stimulus packages, according to economic figures released on Tuesday. Though a record sum, it is considerably smaller than was originally planned. The new debts were incurred to help cover the costs of vast support packages in response to the coronavirus pandemic as well as an expected shortfall in tax revenue.
Fox report. Guatemalan forces clear road of migrants bound for U.S., some agree to return to Honduran border. Guatemalan security forces have cleared a road occupied by hundreds of U.S.-bound migrants who crossed into the country from Honduras last week. Some members of the migrant caravan agreed to take buses back to the Honduran border Monday after several nights stuck at a roadblock on a rural highway in Vado Hondo, about 35 miles from the Honduras and El Salvador borders. A small number of migrants were forcefully sent back after a scuffle with Guatemalan police and soldiers, while others scattered into the mountains.
Al Jazeera report. Swiss open money laundering probe of Lebanon's central bank. Beirut, Lebanon. Swiss authorities have requested that Lebanon's judiciary cooperate with a money laundering investigation into the country's central bank, in the latest blow of confidence to the insolvent financial institution and its crestfallen governor. The probe centers on $400 million in transfers allegedly tied to the bank's governor of 27 years, Riyad Salameh, his brother Raja, and Salameh's advisor Marianne Al-Hoayek, a judicial source told Al Jazeera.
BBC report. Trap Chinese miners say thanks for medicine, call for sausages. The miners have been able to communicate via a new telephone line. Rescuers had initially lowered rations on a cable, and received back a note saying, "Don't stop trying to reach us." 10 other miners remain missing in the gold mine, their fate unclear. The 22 men were trapped at the Hushan mine near Yantai in eastern Shandong province on 10 January when an explosion damaged the exit and the communication system of the mine, which was still under construction.
Fox report. Car thief finds 4-year-old in backseat, returns to scene to scold mother. An Oregon carjacker allegedly swiped an idling SUV, drove down the street and discovered a 4-year-old inside, so he turned around, drove back to the scene and scolded the mother for leaving her child unattended. The mother left her son in a running vehicle before going into a butcher shop in Beaverton at 10 minutes past 9 a.m. Saturday, according to Beaverton police spokesman Matt Henderson. The mom was inside for barely a minute when police said she and the clerk saw a man hop into her idling vehicle and speed off.
Thank you for watching 5 p.m. recap. To be notified, you can subscribe our channel and activate the bell.